Picture this. You're standing on the edge of a forest, just outside the bustling, almost medieval city of Cluj-Napoca in Romania. From here, you can almost hear the hum of city life, the distant echo of trams and the murmur of conversation from outdoor cafes. It feels normal, safe. But the locals, they look at you with a strange mix of pity and concern. They watch you take a step towards the tree line, and some might even make a sign to ward off evil, muttering under their breath. Because this isn't just any forest. This is Hoia Baciu. And as you stand there, on the precipice of its shadows, you feel the temperature drop, not just on your skin, but somewhere deep inside your bones. The air, which moments ago carried the scent of Romanian pastries and city exhaust, now smells of damp earth, decaying leaves, and something else, something metallic and vaguely unsettling, like the taste of old blood in your mouth. The trees here don't grow straight. They twist and writhe, corkscrewing towards a sky that seems inexplicably dimmer above their canopy. Their branches look like gnarled, arthritic fingers reaching out, not for sunlight, but to snatch something from the air. There's a silence that descends, a heavy, pressing quiet that muffles the nearby city sounds until they're nothing but a memory. It's a silence so profound you can hear your own heartbeat, a frantic, rabbit-like thump against your ribs. Welcome to the Bermuda Triangle of Romania, a place where the rules of our reality seem to fray at the edges, a place where people walk in and, sometimes, don't walk out. This isn't just a collection of ghost stories, Yar. This is a place that feels fundamentally wrong, a place that watches you back. Before we even step foot into the unnerving quiet of the woods, we have to understand that the story of Hoia Baciu is not a modern invention, not some creepypasta born on the internet. This is a tale woven into the very fabric of Transylvanian soil, a legacy of fear passed down through generations. The forest is named, as legend has it, after a shepherd who, along with his entire flock of 200 sheep, walked into the trees one day and simply vanished. It created a psychological barrier around the woods, a perimeter of terror that kept most people out for centuries. But as the world modernized, as superstition gave way to skepticism, a new generation began to look at Hoia Baciu not with fear, but with curiosity. They didn't see a cursed land. They saw a puzzle, a scientific anomaly waiting to be decoded. And it was this shift in perspective that would pry open the forest's secrets, revealing something far stranger and more terrifying than a simple ghost story. The narrative of Hoia Baciu would have likely remained a piece of local, albeit terrifying folklore, had it not been for a biologist named Alexandru Sift. In the 1960s, Sift, a man of science and logic, was drawn to the forest, not by its ghosts, but by its strange biological quirks. He was intrigued by the bizarre shapes of the trees, the unexplained patches of vegetation, and the stories of physical effects on visitors. He began a systematic study, treating the forest like a giant outdoor laboratory. He would spend days on end within its oppressive silence, meticulously documenting everything he saw, smelled, and felt. He photographed the bent trees, took soil samples, and measured background radiation, convinced there was a rational, scientific explanation for everything. But the forest, it seemed, had other ideas. During his expeditions, Sift began to experience things that his scientific training could not explain. He felt disembodied presences, saw strange mists coalesce and dissipate, and captured bizarre lights and shadows on his camera film. Anomalies that appeared on the negatives but were invisible to his naked eye. This was a man whose entire life was dedicated to the observable, the provable, the tangible. And yet here he was, in the heart of this Romanian woodland, collecting data that defied every known law of physics and biology. He was a scientist, slowly being forced to confront the possibility that some things are beyond our understanding. He documented everything with a researcher's precision, but his notes began to read less like a scientific journal and more like the diary of a man on the edge of a terrifying discovery. His work became the bedrock of all future paranormal investigations into Hoia Baciu, a methodical, scientific testament to the forest's profound and inexplicable weirdness. As the afternoon wore on, Barnea was suddenly called by his friends, their voices sharp with a mixture of disbelief and panic. He looked up at the sky, and there, hovering silently above the treetops in a clearing, was a large, circular, metallic-looking object. It was gleaming in the sun, making absolutely no sound. Barnea, a man of logic and technical training, grabbed his camera. His hands were shaking, but his instincts took over. He managed to snap 4 photographs of the object before it suddenly shot upwards and vanished at an impossible speed. The photographs were developed and became instant sensations. They were analyzed by Romanian authorities and international UFO experts alike. The consensus was astonishing. These images were not fakes. They showed a genuine, unidentified flying object. There were no signs of double exposure, no strings, no models. To this day, the Barnea photographs from Hoia Baciu are considered some of the clearest, most credible UFO pictures ever taken. This single event shifted the entire conversation about the forest. It was no longer just about ghosts and missing shepherds. Now, it was about extraterrestrials, about otherworldly visitors using this strange patch of land as some kind of portal or landing strip. The forest, it seemed, wasn't just haunted, it was a gateway to somewhere else. The deeper you delve into the stories of Hoia Baciu, the more you realize that the phenomena are not just visual. They are profoundly physical and psychological. People who spend time in the forest report a bizarre and consistent array of symptoms. It often starts with a sudden, overwhelming feeling of anxiety, a primal sense of being watched by countless unseen eyes. This isn't just a vague spookiness. Yar. It's a palpable, pressing dread that can send even the most hardened skeptics scrambling back to the tree line. Then come the physical manifestations. Visitors report developing strange red rashes on their skin, almost like burns, that appear out of nowhere and disappear just as quickly after leaving the forest. Severe headaches, sudden nausea, and intense dizziness are incredibly common, as if the very air is thick with something that sickens the human body. Perhaps most disturbingly, people reported an invisible field that disrupts our technology, isolating you and leaving you completely vulnerable within its eerie domain. The central, most haunting feature of Hoia Baciu is a place that has resisted all attempts at rational explanation. Near the center of the forest lies a perfect circle, a clearing in the woods where absolutely nothing grows. Soil samples have been taken from this dead zone and analyzed extensively. Scientists have found nothing unusual, nothing toxic in the soil that would prevent plant life from taking root. Yet, for as long as anyone can remember, this patch of earth has remained barren. Trees on the edge of the circle grow at bizarre angles, bending away from it as if repulsed by an invisible force. It is in this clearing that the paranormal activity is said to be most concentrated. Locals call it the gateway, the epicenter of the forest's strangeness. Others propose it's a landing pad for extraterrestrial craft, the barren soil a result of radiation or exotic energy sources. Whatever the cause, the clearing stands as a silent, stark testament to the forest's defiance of nature's laws. It is a wound on the landscape, a place where the earth itself seems to be holding its breath, waiting for something to return. Let's be honest for a moment. The scientific community, by and large, tends to dismiss places like Hoia Baciu with a wave of the hand. They'll talk about mass hysteria, the power of suggestion, or unusual geological formations creating low-frequency infrasound that can induce feelings of anxiety and dread. They might point to specific types of fungi or plants that could release hallucinogenic spores into the air. And you know what? Those are all valid, plausible explanations for some of the phenomena. But for me, this is where the story gets really interesting, because to apply these blanket explanations to Hoia Baciu feels almost like an act of intellectual cowardice. It's an attempt to neatly file away something that refuses to be categorized. How does infrasound account for the physical burns and rashes that appear on people's skin? How does mass hysteria explain the repeated, predictable failure of electronic equipment in specific zones within the forest? And most importantly, how do any of these theories explain the Barnea UFO photograph, an image that has withstood decades of expert scrutiny? To me, dismissing Hoia Baciu is to ignore a mountain of credible, documented evidence simply because it doesn't fit into our neat little box of what is real. It's a failure of curiosity. What I find far more compelling is the idea that we, as a species, know fundamentally nothing about the world we live in. We've mapped the genome and sent rovers to Mars, but maybe there are pockets of this planet, ancient and powerful places like Hoia Baciu, that operate under a different set of rules, a different kind of physics that we haven't even begun to comprehend. Here's my controversial take, the thing that most paranormal investigators won't say out loud. What if Hoia Baciu isn't haunted by ghosts in the traditional sense? What if it's not about the spirits of the dead? The bent trees could be the result of repeated exposure to a powerful, unknown energy source. The physical sickness could be a side effect of proximity to a technology or a life form our bodies are not equipped to handle. The lost time, the feeling of being watched, the disembodied voices. Could these be the psychic residue of a consciousness so advanced, so different from our own, that our brains can only interpret it as paranormal? Maybe the forest isn't a haunted house. Maybe it's an active laboratory, a preserve, where some other intelligence observes us, studies us, and occasionally interacts with us in ways that we perceive as terrifying because we lack the context to understand them. This theory, in my opinion, accounts for a much wider range of the evidence than the simple ghost hypothesis. It explains the technological and biological aspects of the mystery. It reframes the shepherd's disappearance not as a ghostly abduction, but as a possible specimen collection. It's a chilling thought, MATLAB. The idea that we are not the masters of this planet, but merely tenants in a world that contains forces and intelligences far beyond our wildest imaginings. There's another layer to this that we need to consider, one that ventures into the realm of quantum physics and theoretical science. The idea of interdimensional portals has long been a staple of science fiction. But modern physics, with its string theories and M theories, increasingly suggests the mathematical possibility of other dimensions coexisting alongside our own. What if Hoia Baciu, and specifically that barren clearing, is not a gateway to outer space, but a gateway to inner space? A place where the veil between our reality and another is unusually thin. This could explain the sheer variety and strangeness of the phenomena. The ghosts could be fleeting glimpses of beings from another dimension, their reality momentarily bleeding into ours. The light orbs could be energy signatures from a world with different physical laws. The feeling of lost time might occur when a person partially phases between these two realities, experiencing a temporal flow that is completely different from our own. This isn't just about little green men in silver suits. It could be about a reality so fundamentally different that it's inhabited by beings of pure energy. So, what are we left with when we peel back the layers of folklore, science, and speculation? We are left with a place that forces us to confront the limits of our own understanding. Hoia Baciu is more than just a collection of spooky stories. It is a direct challenge to our modern, rationalist worldview. It's a stubborn, unsettling anomaly that refuses to be explained away. In an age where every corner of the globe is mapped by satellites and every mystery seems to have a Wikipedia page, this forest remains profoundly, defiantly unknown. It reminds us that for all our technological prowess, we are still infants in the grand scheme of the cosmos. We live on a thin, fragile crust of comprehension, and beneath that crust lies a universe of possibilities so vast and strange that it could shatter our minds. Places like Hoia Baciu are essential, I believe. They are a necessary dose of humility. They keep the flame of mystery alive in a world that is becoming increasingly sterile and predictable. They are a reminder that magic, for lack of a better word, still exists. Whether it's the magic of extraterrestrial visitors, interdimensional beings, or simply the magic of a profound natural phenomenon we don't yet have the tools to measure, it is there. Ultimately, the story of Hoia Baciu is a story about us. It's about our relationship with fear, with the unknown, and with the parts of our world that still lie in shadow. Why are we so drawn to these dark places? Why do we tell these stories? And why do they resonate so deeply within us? I think it's because, on some primal level, we know that the world is bigger and stranger than our everyday lives suggest. We crave a sense of wonder, a feeling that there is more to this existence than jobs and bills and traffic. Hoia Baciu provides that. It is a doorway into the what if. It allows us to entertain the most incredible possibilities, that we are not alone in the universe, that other realities exist, that the laws of nature are more flexible than we think. And in doing so, it expands our own sense of what is possible. The forest may be a place of fear, but it is also a place of profound wonder. It is a mirror that reflects our deepest anxieties and our most expansive hopes. One more thing before ending this video. If you like these kinds of videos, do subscribe to the channel and share your recommendations in the comments section. I really appreciate every comment I get from you. I'm waiting for yours. Thank you. See you in the next video.